When you first realized that you loved music, did you always know it was like the creation of it, or did you feel like it was initially just like, I just enjoy listening to it? That, I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, it makes sense. No, because I knew I was always running around my house singing something and playing some dumb shit I came up with on a guitar when I was little. There was never like a turning point for me, really. It just kind of fell in my lap. The music creation fell in my lap. But I've always just loved it. I can't, I've always been the guy in choir. I've always been the guy banging on something. It's always been there. I just didn't know.
yeah. And you mentioned kind of talking about your the person who helped you mix and master stuff. How important do you think that is to have someone that is kind of aligned with where you're going? Because I think that's becoming more and more of a thing where people used to, I think it's still outsourcing, but it used to be like, oh, I made this song with this guy, and then I made this song with this guy. And it seems more and more, especially from an independent artist perspective, people are like connecting with one person because they kind of like understand their sound better.
Yeah. If you don't have anyone helping you, you're depending on your ears. So if you don't know what's good and bad, then you're going to be bad. It's very simple. That's as best as I can put it. If you don't have a relationship with someone taking you step by step, or a group, or some sort of trustful collective that you can at least send stuff through, you're done. You're going to be terrible. No one can do it completely by themselves because music isn't music is to share with the world. It's not a just you situation. It can be, but you're not going to go anywhere.
Right. There's going to be people that have the exact same view as you and to have no other output as in like what's good and what's bad. And at the
Yeah,
end of the day,
exactly.
I can it's hard to really and I think just having other people listen to it, like you when you create something, you know like it's like if you write a text message to somebody
Mhm.
and you're thinking about the thing already and you exclude certain subjects because you're already thinking about the content of the text, but like you don't think about leaving stuff out. But if you write a song and it's like missing things, but you don't see it because the song's coming from you, you don't pick up on that as
Yeah, it could also be a situation where you send someone a text, they don't see the emotion behind the text. It's just word. It's just
words.
a phone. So they could take it the completely wrong way. So you need to know if someone's going to take it the wrong way and gets it the way you do, because someone could completely miss something, and only you could see that, and you can explain it to them, but you don't get to explain your songs unless you're on Genius. But you don't get to explain your songs. It's the listeners
Yeah,
got to
it's
figure
very
it
rare
out.
that you yeah, very rare that happens, right? So let's talk about the new song. You kind of mentioned it, Downtown with Ollie Joseph, Jimmy Hooks on the beat. How did this all come to be?
So I was looking for a different lane of beats, and I found Jimmy Hooks. I found him a little earlier on, and then I noticed he did something. I don't know what he did, but his beats were like a seven to me. And then out of nowhere, they're like, bang, here we put Jimmy Hooks. I'm like, all right. And so I reached out to him and I let him know that. And then I slowly started working on his beats, and I got downtown, and immediately it was like he sent it across America. I don't know what that guy did, but he sent it everywhere. And then I happened to meet Ollie in person at a writers round in Nashville for my friend Grant, and we networked a little bit. He said he liked my song "That's Life," and he texted me or hit me on Instagram, said it was on repeat. So I'm like, oh hell yes! It ended up I caught his attention with Downtown. It got stuck in his head. He denied it at first. He was like, I don't really think it's a song that I would be on. Ollie's a little his lane's kind of
Peculiar.
he's real specific, and it's either he's full singing or he's full rapping, and this was like in the middle. So he I had to it had to grow on him, but eventually it was stuck in his head for too long. He just had to do it.
I mean, that's a great song, so I can totally understand. I texted him the other day and was like, I'm training for a marathon, and I was like, dude, I want to listen to the song all the time, but I'm trying to save it for when I don't want to keep running.
Yeah.
It's a hard push and pull. For people who don't know, kind of explain what a writer's round is, because I think it's a cool concept that I heard from another artist before.
Yeah, Writers Round is like Nashville bar. You get a series of artists from like nine to it could be 23, and you just have sit side by side on bar stools with guitars, and they play their music and they display to the crowd what it is. It's basically like a concert for the bar, but for those ride around people, they get the show They get the feeling of doing the show and warming up and their live vocals and what it's like to play live. And they also get the platform.
How long have you been going to those for?
This is my second one I'm going to tonight.
Oh, okay, this is new.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very new thing for me. I've known about them for a while.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, it was I've had one country artist on this podcast, and this is the only country artist that. So I didn't know that like other avenues of music were also doing them. I thought it was a cool concept, and
Yeah.
it was also in Nashville being country music. But I just think it's a cool idea for, like you said, having more ears on your music.
Yeah, it's definitely sick. And the bars get to sell tickets because, at least every artist, they got 10 people that got 10 people. So, that's 300 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
It's a cool concept. It works out for everybody, and you also get some of that live music experience without having the huge pressure of the live music experience.
Exactly.
So what do you feel like, since downtown, what do you feel is next for the rest of 2024 and to come?
More jammy beats. I got a lot of jammy beats. It's going to be a lot more of that sound. I feel like I'm finally settling into it to where if I get a beat that I can vibe with and just snap on, then it's going to go. So I've been able to get a few. I got a few coming. I got one called Rather Be Here First. It's actually coming at the end of this month. That's also a Jimmy beat. So I'll be diving into that sound way more. We might see a couple older sound records or maybe bring that chase sound back out here and there. But for the most part, I have my most fun doing this.
And that's important. That's an important thing to find with whatever you do, is figuring out what brings you the most joy when you're doing it. And I think that puts out the most authentic version of yourself when you're doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't having fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's an important piece of the puzzle. You can tell when, well, not that you can tell always, but I think when people get to the mainstream point where you can kind of see some artists have lost the fun aspect of it, and they're kind of going through the motions.
Well,
Not with every artist.
There's also the point that it could be just like it was never fun, and for a lot of people, that's the main problem. Like they have a drive in them is to make it. Their drive is to make it. Their drive is to get the money. Well, what happens when you get it?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be that same drive forever. So they get the drive, they get the money. The drive's gone. Now the music's terrible.
And then the drugs.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest positive things to come out of social media, because you get to hear the side from the big name people about, like, once you get the money. Like one of the first times I remember someone talking about that was a J. Cole interview where he was talking about like getting everything and then not knowing why he wasn't happy. And like I feel like before social media, it was so much less common for, like, whether it was actors or musicians or whatever, to be like, yo, I'm not happy. Like, I made money and now I'm just not happy. And it kind of just always seemed like, oh, you have money, so you're happy.
Yeah. I think it just depends. I've had a very up and down life. And right now, I could 100% say if you put $17 million in my bank account, I'm going to be a happy guy.
Yeah.
All right. I could say that. There ain't no, I could say that much.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt, right? Doesn't make anything worse.
At least not in my world.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking so much time out of your night just to sit down and chat and share a little bit about the music journey you've been on. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close down?
Yeah, no, as like a closing argument, no. Just be on the lookout. I'm coming, and I'm coming fast. No Diddy.
No, all right. Thanks
No
so much.
Diddy.
And now we're gonna break down kind of his life growing up before he got into music.
So yeah, before music, I grew up in Memphis. Ended up going to a private Christian boarding school for like 3 years, so not fully grew up in Memphis, but there it's like we had no music or nothing. We didn't have all we had to listen to was like Christian music, like Lecrae and shit like that. And then I get out, the first album I find is Young Thug, Slime Season 3. And I honestly bought it at the time because I wanted to fit in, and everyone was listening to rap. So I bought Slime Season 3, and I would listen to it on my laptop, and then I started fucking loving it. I loved it. So I loved it for like 2-3 years. It's like one of the only things I listened to. And then during that time frame, my mom was fighting like a criminal case, and then she ran from the police from the criminal case. And she had a husband at the time, which is my stepdad. He committed suicide. That's a long story. So it left me in like a darker spot, and within that darker spot, I fell deep into gaming. And then with gaming, there was a game called H1Z1. It was like the first battle royale before the Fortnite and the PUBG and all that. And I was a pro player in H1Z1. I was like 15, and I was making. I remember one time I got like $4,000, and I showed my dad. He was like, "What the fuck?" Like he couldn't believe what I was doing, because this was before like the big gaming rise. That's happened over the last 5 years. This was 8, maybe if not more years ago. And then that kind of catapulted into other things. So I went from H1 to semi-pro Overwatch. It was just on a scrim team there and nothing too serious. And then wagering in COD, to falling out of that onto the making physical music in high school.
How was the process of developing into getting paid for gaming? Like back then when it wasn't nearly what the level it is now, how did you like manage the ropes of like getting set up where you could even be in a position to get paid for something like
So I
that?
was really young, so I actually was never supposed to get paid to begin with. But the way that it worked in H1 was, if we won like a tournament or something in H1, there was a mask, and it was called a nightmare mask. And the Steam marketplace, that the game was on Steam, and they'd cash you out in these nightmare masks. I got like three at the time. They were selling for like $2,000, and now they're probably not even $5. But it's just that was the system. So it'd go from Steam to my PayPal.
Yeah. Your older version, your future self, PayPal.
Yeah, there we go.
What? So do you still game then, or is that something you kind of dropped out of more?
No, I do it on occasion, just casually, to keep up with those guys at the level that these motherfuckers are at now. You have to have the time to sit here all day, every day, and to catch up with them. I'd probably have to do it for 2 years. So I'm done. There ain't no coming back. I still got, like, I don't know how good you are at COD, but there's a high chance that I could just hop on COD at any given moment and just, you're done. So I still got that, but there's no competition anymore.
Yeah.